All right, today we're going to be discussing angles, so let's get started with what an angle is. The sides of an angle are composed of two rays, okay, two rays, and where they meet, that is called the vertex. Where they meet is the vertex. You name angles by using 3 points and going in the order in which they appear, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. If you have a single angle, just one angle, no other angle coming off of it, then you can name that angle by using just one letter. So let's talk about all this stuff in that picture right here that we have. So that angle right there, do you notice there's two rays? There's a ray, there's a ray. We can name this angle 3 ways because there's just one angle here. Now I'm going to write something on the screen real quick, and I do not want you to write it, so just bear with me here. Let's say that I had like this going on, okay? If I have this going on, you couldn't just call this angle B. And the reason why you couldn't just call this angle B is because how would I know if this is angle B or this is angle B? See how there's two angles there? So let me erase this. But in this case, what we have right here is just one single angle. So since we have one single angle, you can name it by its vertex. So that would be okay. Now there's 2 other ways of naming this angle, and only 2 other ways. You have to follow the angle's letters. So ABC or CBA. That's the only choices you have. Don't go calling it CAB. If you call it CAB, that's not good. You do not want to do that. Look at that. That is not the same angle. That's some other angle, right? So don't call it that. So you can either call it ABC for this one, or you can call it CBA. So all 3 of those will work. The vertex, that's the end point of those 2 rays. So our vertex here is B, and let's look at these 2 rays. Here's one side, here's another side. So the side is going to be ray BA, and then the other one is ray BC. Okay, so vertex and the 2 rays, that is what makes up an angle. Let's talk about congruent angles. So congruent means the same or equal. So if 2 angles have the same measure, they're congruent, and sometimes they'll have matching angle markings. So let's look at the example. List 2 angles that are congruent because of their markings. Now we're going to use this picture here, and we're just going to look at the markings. And you should see this mark and this mark. I like to call them angle markings, so the 2 little markings there are the same. Now if one of them looked like this, and the other one looked like what we have on the screen, notice this has 2 marks and this has 1 mark. That does not mean they are congruent, okay? It means that they are different. They are not congruent, but that's not what's going on here, right? These both have the exact same marking. So the first angle, we'll say ABC, go in the correct order, and we'll say it goes with DEF. Now you could list them the other way. You could say it's angle CBA, and the other angle is FED. Why can't I say angle B is congruent to angle E though? Why can't I say angle B is congruent to angle E? That's not a single angle, is it? How do I know that this is angle B? How do I not, can't this be angle B? I mean, it has the same vertex, right? Or can't this be angle B? Or can't this be angle B? You see what I'm saying? There's 4 angles going on here, so you cannot call that angle B and you cannot call that angle E. So these are not single angles. That's why you can't do it. So be careful, don't do it. Let's move it on down. Let's talk about different types of angles. First, we have an acute angle. You probably learned these in middle school, but you might have forgotten them, so we're going to go over them again. An angle that is more than 0 degrees, but it's going to be less than 90 degrees, and it looks something like this. A right angle would be exactly 90 degrees, and usually they signify it with that little box right there. So look for that box. If you see the box, it's exactly 90 degrees. Obtuse is going to be more than 90 degrees, but it's going to be less than 180 degrees. And a straight angle is going to be exactly 180 degrees. Okay, notice that it's straight, straight angle, 180. So let's keep going. This right here is going to be called angle addition. It looks like I forgot to write addition here. So angle addition. If S is in the interior of angle RST, then the measure of angle PQR is the sum of the measures of PQS and SQR. Wow. And the first thing I'm noticing is this says RST. This should say RQP. Cross that out for me. RQP. There we go. Okay, so S is inside that angle, so then these two angles add up to be the big one, right? This sounds like a lot of mumbo jumbo. It's probably really difficult to understand. So let me explain to you what this actually means. I'm going to color in a couple of angles here. So first we have this angle, we'll call it the yellow one, and then we have this blue angle, okay? And then all together, the blue and the yellow, right, will give you this big green angle. We're going to write this out with some letters. So I'm going to write it first. Yellow plus blue equals the big green angle. You like that I used yellow and blue? Because they really do combine together to give you green. So let's use the letters now. Look at the yellow angle. What can we name the yellow angle? Can we name it angle Q? No. There's more than one angle here, right? You can't just name it angle Q. I won't know what you're talking about. So we're going to have to name it with 3 letters. So I'm going to name it PQS, but you could also name this SQP. So PQS is what I'm going to use. And then we have the blue angle. You can name this SQR or RQS. It's totally up to you. I'm going to use SQR. And then we have the green angle. You can name this PQR or RQP. It's up to you. We'll use PQR. There we go. So what this mumbo jumbo right here means is this angle plus this angle is the big angle. Little angle, you'll sometimes hear me in class say this, little angle plus the little angle equals the big angle. Okay, however you need to look at it, view it. You could also name this angle 1 and angle 2, and you can say angle 1 plus angle 2 equals the big green angle, which is PQR. You'll see it all different ways like that, but just understand that the 2 angles inside add up to be the big green angle. Okay, so we're going to apply this, all this crazy talk here. Let's actually do some mathematics behind it, okay? So let's look at number 1 and number 2 here. On number 1 it says find the measure of PQR. Well, let's break this down with some letters first. So the first angle that we have here is PQS. And then the next angle I see is SQR. And then we have the big green angle, like that. So I'm going to write that out. PQS, this is the same as the last one, plus SQR equals the big green angle, which is PQR. Just like that. Now let's substitute in what we know. Well, what's PQS? I don't know. This 80 right here, do you notice it's with the big bold mark? It's not just in the yellow, it's with the whole thing. So that's not PQS, and it's not SQR. So this big 80 bold mark here is this whole mouth. So it looks like they're telling you that's what this green one is. And in this equation, the green one is right here. So we're going to put 80 degrees right there. We don't know what PQS is. What's SQR? Well, let's look at this picture. Do you see how nuzzled right into this angle there's a 20 degree right there? Let's substitute that in. So now to get PQS alone, we have to get rid of the 20. And the 20 is adding, so we're going to subtract 20 from both sides. And if we subtract 20 from both sides, we're going to get 60. So PQS is 60. Let's talk about number 2. This one's actually easier than number 1, which is kind of nice. So on number 2, we have angle ABD. And you know what? I'm going to highlight it in yellow so you can see it. There's ABD and there's DBC, which will give you this whole big angle, right? That whole big angle. So ABD plus DBC equals ABC. What is ABD? Look at the picture. It's 50. And what's DBC? That one's 40. So this one's pretty easy compared to the last one. It's just going to be 90 degrees. By the way, what kind of angle is 90 degrees? What kind of angle is 90 degrees? That's going to be a right angle. I'm just going to jot this down. They didn't ask you to do, oh yeah, they did. Look, it says classify the angle. So we're going to classify it. So this is a right angle. Oh, what about 60? What kind of angle is that? It's less than 90, but more than 0. So that angle right there is acute. That one's acute. Okay? This one down here, I'm going to have you try this on your own. So you try number 3. Make sure you have it done for class. When I check your notes, I'm going to check to see that you have tried this problem. So go ahead and try it using everything you know, and we're going to talk about it whenever we see each other in class again. Have a good night.